All right, guys, let's talk about something that's absolutely exploding right now. And I mean exploding. Tokenization. Now, I get it. You're probably thinking, oh great, here we go again with tokenization talk. And look, I know we've been hammering this topic all year long, but here's the thing. There's a really good reason we keep coming back to it. The massive growth story. Check this out. We're looking at almost $34 billion in the tokenization space right now. Remember where we started this year? Just $15.6 billion back in January. That's more than doubled in less than a year. This isn't just growth. This is explosive, game-changing momentum that everyone in crypto needs to pay attention to. The major players. So who's leading this charge? When we look at the biggest platforms dominating this space, Securitize sits right at the top. And here's where it gets really interesting. Ripple, they've partnered with Securitize. They've also teamed up with Ondo. It's like watching a who's who of crypto giants all connecting the dots. Most of the names you see on these top platform lists, they're already shaking hands with the major players we analyze every single day. Breaking down the numbers. Now, here's where things get fascinating. That $34 billion total, a big chunk of that comes from private chains and platforms like Securitize. While Securitize uses multiple public networks, it's not exactly a tradable public network itself. When we zoom in on just the public blockchain networks, we're looking at $21.22 billion. And get this, both of these numbers have shot up dramatically in just the last 30 days. But here's the kicker. Public blockchains are actually seeing even faster growth right now. The real eye-opener? Transfer volume. Okay, this is where your mind should be blown. Those public networks holding $21.22 billion, their 30-day transfer volume for RWAs is $115 billion. That's up 50%.
Why should this make you sit up and pay attention? Think about stablecoins for a second. Stablecoins have about $295 billion locked up, but their monthly transfer volume? Nearly $3.7 trillion. Trillion with a T. The trillion-dollar vision. Here's why I keep saying tokenization is going to make us rich. We're not just talking about money sitting around doing nothing. When tokenization really takes off and hits these public networks in the next 5 years, we're looking at trillions and trillions of dollars in value. The projections show $16 trillion on public networks by 2030. But here's the really exciting part. If that $16 trillion generates the same kind of transfer activity we're seeing now, we could be looking at $30 trillion, $50 trillion, maybe even over $100 trillion in monthly transfer volume. And that makes perfect sense when you think about it. These tokenized assets aren't just going to sit there collecting digital dust. They're going to be traded around the clock, 365 days a year. That's the beauty of blockchain. It never sleeps. Looking back at the predictions. This comes from Nick, Crypto Crusader. You know what's crazy? Back in June, just 4 months ago, he called this market hitting $23.38 billion. Well, guess what? We've added over $10 billion since then, and we're sitting at almost $34 billion today. That's the power of recognizing trends early and riding the wave. But wait, that $34 billion? That's just what we can see on-chain right now. When we're talking about the total addressable market, we're looking at quadrillions. Let that sink in for a moment. We haven't even scratched the surface yet. And here's what blows my mind. Even the most hardcore crypto believers are missing just how massive this is about to become. The network effect on steroids. Everyone's focusing on the trees and missing the forest. We're about to see trillions flood onto these networks, and they're not just going to sit there doing nothing.
Remember Bitcoin's incredible journey from literal pennies to $100,000? That network effect was incredible, right? Now, imagine that same explosive growth, but for utility networks. And we're talking 10 times, 100 times, or even more than what Bitcoin achieved. Picture this: trillions of dollars being actively traded every single day, around the clock. No breaks, no weekends, no holidays. Every market goes digital. We're talking about everything getting tokenized. Real estate, debt markets, commodities, you name it. Even money itself is moving on-chain, permanently. And stablecoins? They're basically giving us a preview of what's coming. The fact that governments are embracing them isn't just acceptance, it's a massive signal that this transformation is inevitable. The digital currency revolution. Stablecoins are literally bringing traditional money onto blockchain networks. This is the digital currency revolution happening right in front of our eyes. That's why I keep saying, focus on the projects with the most real-world utility. When I look at all these networks we've been discussing, here's my bold prediction. They won't be valued in billions much longer. We're talking trillions. Trillions. Bigger than the internet. This is genuinely bigger than anything we've witnessed in human history. This is the internet of value. This is our new financial system being built in real time. The blueprint was always there. Here's something that'll give you chills. Ripple was talking about the internet of value way back in 2017. 2017. They saw this coming from miles away. And get this, in April 2024, we got the Finternet announcement. It's basically a rebranding of that same internet of value concept. This came from the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements. Literally the central bank of central banks. They're talking about a completely new financial system where everything moves faster, everything's digital-based, and everything's connected through tokenization. It's not theoretical anymore.
It's happening right now. The confirmation we've been waiting for. Just look at what Ripple posted on the 8th. Banking, bonds, currency, and markets. The entire financial landscape is evolving. Blockchain is the powerful engine creating groundbreaking opportunities for global businesses. They're literally saying, hey, this is happening. We're making it happen with payments, custody, stablecoins, and more. This was always the plan. The crazy part? This wasn't some spontaneous development. This was planned. Ripple called it in 2017, and now we're watching it unfold exactly as predicted. We're seeing massive adoption of tokenized assets, stablecoins, digital currencies. This is shaping up to be one of the biggest years in crypto history. And here's the kicker. This is just the beginning. What's coming next? If you thought 2025 was huge with all the announcements, partnerships, and major developments, buckle up. It's only going to accelerate from here. Speaking of major players, let's talk about BlackRock for a second. Back in Q2, or was it Q3, they dropped some updates that really caught my attention. The BlackRock Bombshell. Now, I might be remembering the exact quarter wrong, but I definitely remember this part clearly. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock himself, was telling us that tokenization is going to be absolutely massive. His exact words? Tokenization is the next big thing. Period. Full stop. And what's absolutely wild is that BlackRock hasn't slowed down one bit. They're still pushing the boundaries, still innovating, still betting big on tokenization. The recent CNBC revelation. Check out this recent update from CNBC that Nate Goralski posted. The headline says it all. CEO of the world's largest asset manager. We are just at the beginning of the tokenization of all assets. Yes, includes ETFs. This is Larry Fink talking about his positively evolving attitude towards crypto. And he says, and I love this, I grow and learn. Good lesson here. Meanwhile, some of you still think crypto is a scam. Come on. The I grow and learn moment.
I do believe we're just at the beginning of the tokenization of all assets, from real estate to equities to bonds across the board.
It's very loud here.
It is very loud.
But it's good. Capital's at work, Larry. You like that.
I love capital at work. Yeah. But there's $4.1 trillion of money in sitting globally in digital wallets. A lot of that money is outside the United States. If we could tokenize a ETF, digitize that ETF, we could have investors who are just beginning to, invest in markets through, let's say, crypto. They're investing in it, but now we could get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. So we look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next tens of years, as we start moving away from traditional financial assets by repotting them in a digital manner, and then having people stay in that digital ecosystem. They can have their cash, and we have the largest cash money market fund that's tokenized called BITL. Our Bitcoin IBIT is now over $100 billion.
$100 billion, I know, from nothing not that long ago.
And 2 years ago, zero.
Yeah,
so
I know. Well, you weren't always a huge proponent of crypto, as we know.
I love
it now.
But I grow and learn.
I heard you say that on 60 Minutes.
I did say that.
Okay, that I grow and learn line is hilarious, right? Like, BlackRock hasn't been quietly positioned in this space for years. Even when they were publicly saying they weren't involved, they were always here. They were always part of the master plan. Everything we're seeing unfold today, these are just dominoes falling exactly where they were supposed to fall. BlackRock's secret weapon. But here's the really big news that everyone's talking about. BlackRock just confirmed they're building their own tokenization platform. Their own platform. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, if BlackRock is building their own platform, what happens to all these public networks we've been discussing? Hold that thought, because we're about to dive into that in just a second. The digital asset revolution. Quote. But first, listen to this quote from Eleanor Tourette that absolutely stood out to me. She said, "The thing that hit her most from Larry Fink's interview was this. The next wave of opportunity for BlackRock is moving away from traditional financial assets and making them digital." Think about that for a second. The world's largest asset manager is saying their next wave of opportunity is going fully digital. The master plan revealed. Here's the genius part. Larry Fink laid out their entire strategy. If we can tokenize an ETF, we can have investors who are beginning to invest in markets through crypto. But now we can get them into the more traditional long-term retirement products. He's talking about creating a bridge. Get people comfortable with digital assets through crypto, then seamlessly move them into tokenized traditional investments. We look at that as the next wave of opportunity for BlackRock over the next tens of years as we start moving away from traditional financial assets by representing them in a digital manner and having people stay in that digital ecosystem. Tens of years. This isn't a short-term play. This is their long-term vision for the entire financial industry.
The real strategy behind the strategy. So, what's BlackRock really saying here? They're basically telling us, we're going to flood people into crypto, get them comfortable with the digital ecosystem, and then they're locked in. This is going to completely replace traditional asset classes. It's genius when you think about it. But wait, what about public blockchains? Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, BlackRock's building their own platform, so I guess it's goodbye to public blockchains, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. The truth about public versus private. Back in March, Subjective Views posted a video that nailed this perfectly. Robbie Mitchnick made it crystal clear. The direction of travel and focus for TradFi firms is public blockchains.
Financial institutions' efforts on private blockchains in the past, and maybe sort of the shift to public blockchains, the regulatory political temperature that has kind of been changing in recent years to kind of lead to that?
Yeah, well, I think the verdict is in on the private blockchains, and it's not good. That was obviously where a lot of the TradFi exploration in this space occurred in the early years. In particular, that was really all of the banks and some of the other TradFi institutions had comfort with. But the track record is what it is, and it reflects the fact that there's been very, very de minimis actual adoption in an economic, commercial way at scale of any of these private blockchain projects. And I think, in hindsight, at least, that makes sense in terms of the curbing of the value prop of blockchain's potential that a private blockchain represents. And so public blockchains are increasingly the focus, even for TradFi firms, maybe not at all yet, but certainly that's the direction of travel. And we've seen obviously encouraging regulatory guidance over the last couple of weeks that help support the notion that this is now a suitable territory for even banks in the US to engage in.
And you know what? He's absolutely right. It's always going to be about public blockchains. Here's why. No matter what BlackRock builds, no matter what Swift creates, no matter what any of these major players develop, they're all just walled gardens. They're closed ecosystems that can't compete with the massive network effects of truly public blockchains. Why public blockchains win every time? These private platforms will never see the explosive success that public blockchains will achieve. It's just not possible when you're operating in a closed system. So even with BlackRock's recent announcements, and they are massive, this actually reinforces why public blockchains are going to be incredibly valuable. All this institutional money, all these new investors, all this traditional finance value, it's all moving on chain. The XRP and crypto industry bombshell. Here's the bottom line. BlackRock just dropped one of the biggest bombshells for XRP and the entire crypto industry. This is going to lead to trillions and trillions of dollars flowing onto blockchain networks. Will it happen overnight? No, probably not. But this is going to bring trillions into this market. And when that happens, we're not just talking about trillions sitting there. We're talking about trillions actively moving every single month. We're already seeing billions in monthly volume. Soon, that's going to shift into the trillions, wrapping up this massive development. And there you have it. This tokenization revolution is happening faster than most people realize, and the players positioning themselves correctly right now are going to see incredible returns. If you found this breakdown valuable, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and definitely turn on notifications so you don't miss any of these major developments as they unfold.